What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. Join us now as we look at this week's edition of AEW Dynamite, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including a shocking sex scandal for WWE, and what it means for Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon have split up after WWE released Sasha Banks, bad news for Randy Orton, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our non-wrestling channel, Incredible. Now, as always, we won't recap the matches, but just look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, Sammy joins Jericho. Reunited, and it feels so good. Well, putting Sammy Guevara back with Chris Jericho was a good move for both the Spanish God and the Wizard, especially since Sammy's interference allowed Jericho to keep his long locks during his match against Ortiz. Now that Sammy is back to being a heel, there's no reason he shouldn't be with Jericho, as it guarantees he'll be on TV every week. As for Jericho, the Jericho Appreciation Society will benefit from Sammy's star power. Daniel Garcia and 2.0 may be upper card or even main event level stars in the future, but they're not there just yet, and Jericho looks strong with Jack Hager and Sammy backing him up. Number 2, Miro wins. And while some fans are criticizing AEW's decision to add another singles title, there's no getting around the fact that Miro and Ethan Page had a hella good match that focused on power moves and brutal brawling. Both wrestlers looked great, and this looked like something out of Jurassic World as two destructive dinosaurs clashed for supremacy. Having Miro win was the right decision, as number 1, he needed the win, and number 2, he adds more star power to the finals. Number 3, the Bucks regain the tag titles. A Jurassic Express versus the Young Bucks in a ladder match? Yes, please. Well, fans know that they were in for a wild ride as soon as this bout was booked, as all 4 men delivered. While Jurassic Express fans were undoubtedly saddened to see them drop the belts, Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy had a strong title reign, and it looks like they already have plans for Jungle Boy. Hopefully they can find something for Luchasaurus, as he has the potential as a singles wrestler. In the meantime, the Bucks are an ideal heel team to hold the titles. Number 4, Christian turns on Jungle Boy. A Christian's turn on Jungle Boy could be good for both wrestlers, as Jungle Boy is just as good as a singles wrestler as he is a team competitor, while Christian always works better as a heel. Christian hasn't been doing much since dropping the Impact World Championship, so this should be a good way to give the fans some excellent matches and showcase both wrestlers' single skills. Number 5, an instant classic. Dax vs Will Ospreay was a reminder of how much talent there is in wrestling and how easy it is to have an instant classic. Although the FTR vs Ospreay and United Empire program is just beginning, the underlying storyline provided enough to make this already good match into something great. And number 6, Toni Storm gets the win over Britt Baker. It was good to see Dr. Britt Baker put Toni Storm over last night. Baker's status as AEW's top female athlete makes it essential that she uses this cash to help get the right stars over. Toni Storm is one such star, as she's brimming with potential and could be AEW's breakout star. But that was a good. What about the bad? Is number 1, AEW isn't promoting Forbidden Door as good as past shows. As good as last night's show was, AEW deserves criticism for not promoting Forbidden Door as strongly as it has other shows. While the show is likely going to do well due to it being a collaboration between AEW and New Japan, AEW should be familiarizing viewers with who all the stars are and make the matches seem like must-see bouts. Again, the show will likely draw well on pay-per-view, but AEW should use this to grow its audience, not just cash in on existing viewers. There was nothing downright ugly about last night's show, as they put on another special event under the Road Rager banner. AEW's use of special names for Dynamite usually leads to above average shows, and last night did deliver. But what did you guys think of Dynamite last night? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Our first story today looks at a sex scandal rocking WWE. Atop of today's news is a report from the Wall Street Journal that the WWE's board of directors is investigating a $3 million payoff by Vince McMahon for a former female employee to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Here are some highlights from the article. The board of the World Wrestling Entertainment Inc., WWE, is investigating a secret $3 million settlement that longtime chief executive Vince McMahon agreed to pay to departing employee whom he allegedly had an affair, according to the documents and people familiar with the board inquiry. Brandon Thurston of WrestleLamics tweeted about an internal communication sent to WWE employees. WWE sent a message to staff that's similar to the WWE spokesperson comment in the WSJ article. The Wall Street Journal has published a report about WWE with allegations that we and our board of directors take seriously. We are cooperating fully with the independent investigation initiated by our board of directors. A law firm has been hired to independently investigate the allegations, which is the norm for publicly held companies when problems like this arise. What could prove problematic for those involved is the reported findings of other non-disclosure agreements. The board's investigation, which began in April, has unearthed other older non-disclosure agreements involving claims by former female WWE employees of misconduct by Mr. McMahon and one of his top executives, John Laurinaitis, the head of talent relations at WWE, the people said. The journal could determine how many previous agreements were being scrutinized. NDAs can be the proverbial double-edged sword. On one hand, it can keep someone from disclosing alleged misconduct unless they want to incur severe financial penalties. In some cases, a person will pay someone a settlement for misconduct in exchange for the victim signing an NDA. On the other hand, an NDA will lead to people wondering what exactly the misconduct was, and sometimes speculation can be worse than the misconduct. Now, we aren't making any assumptions about what the NDA involved, but there's a growing legal trend that a person who has been the victim of misconduct and in some cases harassment can violate an NDA. At this point, it remains unknown what the WWE's Board of Directors investigation will unearth, but if any of the allegations are accurate, expect to see John Laurinaitis sent packing. While Vince McMahon holds a majority ownership in the company, the board could still have him removed, and it might be necessary to avoid any further scandal. That's not to say that McMahon wouldn't influence things from behind the scenes, but at this point, this is all speculation. Next up, WWE reportedly released Sasha Banks. There's big news on the Sasha Banks front as Wrestling Inc.'s Raj Giri is reporting that the boss is out of WWE. I'm hearing Sasha Banks has been released. I don't know if she's requested it or if it was on WWE's end. Now, the ever-reliable Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com tweeted out, "I spoke with Raj this afternoon and asked WWE about this. As of this evening, they said they hadn't heard of that and talent relations didn't seem to know. Not saying that it didn't or isn't happening, but this is what I've heard so far when I asked. Raj has good sources." He then tweeted on further, "We've been unable to confirm the Sasha Banks news as of yet. She's on the roster page, WWE reps haven't confirmed. Talent Relations hasn't issued anything to talent, and no internal memos have gone out yet. We'll keep digging to get an answer. If it happened, it's been quiet." Now, typically, a release would carry a 3-month no-compete clause unless the WWE and Banks negotiated something else. If Raj Giri's report pans out, it'll be interesting to see whether Banks wrestles or contemplates working in Hollywood exclusively. Next up, bad news for Randy Orton. Now, is Randy Orton out for the rest of the year? Orton was written off television recently after he and Riddle lost the Raw Tag Team Championship to the Usos, and while this was originally believed to be at least a partial work to give Orton time off, Fightful Select reports Orton is injured and may not return until 2023. Fightful has learned that Orton has been dealing with a back injury for quite some time, to the point he actually had work done to improve his condition before the tag team title unification match, though we aren't sure of the extent of the work that was done. Orton recently celebrated 20 years in the WWE, a career that's seen him avoid the many injury-related absences for someone with that many years in the grappling game. However, Fightful Select reports that things are getting worse. We're told that things have gotten progressively worse and that WWE fears that Orton will be forced to undergo a surgery. WWE sources that we spoke to said that if that happens, Orton will be likely out of action until the rest of 2022. Thus far, the exact injury is unknown. Now, Orton was reportedly scheduled to wrestle Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, but that seems unlikely to happen, not only due to Orton's reported condition, but questions as to just when Reigns is returning to action. Next up, Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon have split up. Now, does that mean that they're divorced? Well, no, not quite, but according to Dave Meltzer, the two have been living apart for some time. Dave Meltzer recently discussed the situation on the Wrestling Observer Radio, saying technically they're married. I mean, they haven't been together in a long time though. A divorce at this point in the couple's life could be problematic as it could worsen both McMahon's financial status and disrupt the company's family-friendly image. Things really aren't going well for the McMahons in 2022, have they? And finally, did Max Caster cut a diss rap on Vinnie Mac? And last but not least, AEW's resident rapper can always be counted on to have some funny raps, and while they don't always make it to television, fans are reporting on one Caster made that seemed to reference McMahon's latest woes. Honestly, I have something to say, but somebody made me sign an NDA. It should be interesting to see if Tony Khan lets this one make the airwaves. But there you have it, folks. Our look at this week's Dynamite, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.